Let's talk about resentment. How many times have you felt resentment? It's one of those emotions that's really quite uncomfortable to feel. But the truth is, resentment is just a sign that you have been giving more than you've received without acknowledgement and without repair. The reason I think that's really important to define is because sometimes when we feel emotions that are not very comfortable, they're not very pleasant to feel, we often start to beat ourselves up, do anything we can to either try to remove or not acknowledge that feeling. But when we really break down the meaning of why something is happening, it acknowledges why we're feeling that pain in the first place. And the truth is, you know, and I know, that resentment does not just show up out of nowhere. It's a slow burning emotion that often starts to fill up in the corners of the room as that clutter that doesn't really mean much, or it's not really a big deal until the room is hoarded, full of the resentment that you can no longer deny and that you can no longer just remove in a simple, easy solution. You might wonder, how does resentment come to be? Well, I will show you. There's normally a cycle to it. It normally starts with beliefs, like core beliefs, things that you are taught from really young. You might have been taught to overgive, to be a people pleaser. You might have also been taught to avoid conflict. And you might have been told that thinking about yourself is selfish. So, this is the foundation in which resentment can be built on. And then you learn if you show up as that person, then you receive love. You receive the gift of other people wanting to be around you. So you give more of your time, more of your effort, more of your energy, more of your empathy. But then the next part of the cycle is that is not reciprocated. There is a lack of acknowledgement. And then something much worse than that is when somebody feels entitled to that. Like they feel like it is their God given right. It's their God given right that you deliver that, but they don't necessarily have to do the same in return. And then the next part of the cycle is you start to feel that resentment bubbling, but you minimize it. You don't really like the feeling of it. You also feel a little guilty that you're starting to feel these uncomfortable, negative feelings towards this person. It's not that big of a deal. You minimize yourself. And then that clutter in the corners of the room is building. It's becoming unavoidable. You start to feel shame. You start to feel guilt. Then sometimes people begin to give more. And the cycle continues again and again until, again, that clutter is just becoming more and more and more and more until you are literally suffocated by the resentment that you feel. Until you reach the point where your cup is completely empty and you have no hope of refilling it because you're not doing it for yourself, but you're also not receiving it from other people either. And let's be clear, resentment is not just about imbalance. It's about the silence that follows. It's about the imbalance that does not get repaired. And in fact, it doesn't even get acknowledged and it erodes you from the inside out because it is not visible. Like I say, it's a slow burner. And not only does it erode your potential relationships with others, it also erodes your relationship with yourself. What happens without repair is that your trust for yourself and others begins to erode. Your safety, your sense of safety with yourself and others also begins to dissolve. I think that the uncomfortableness of resentment is that it can show up as anger. And anger is not something that many people are taught that they're allowed to feel. But resentment isn't actually anger. Anger is just the emotional messenger that drives movement and change forward. Resentment is exhaustion. Resentment is exhausted love, exhausted effort that has been starved and put into survival and then asked to thrive and survive. And when you think about it like that, you realize that if you are feeling these feelings, one, it's important to name them because if you name them, you can do something with them and see them. Because also, if you see them and name them and aware of them and acknowledge them, you can also do something with them. But I hope you see that me breaking down resentment shows you that we often hand our power away. We hand our personal power away. We hand our personal relationship with ourselves away. And we also hand the power of how people can treat us through the beliefs that we have about ourselves and about our worthiness and what makes us great. I do believe people are deserving of my love. They are deserving of my empathy. But equally, when did I remove myself from this equation? And I quickly learned that actually adding myself back into the equation in equal measure creates better results. Let me know if you want me to put them in the comments, but I can think of so many examples about something that starts out quite innocent, quite minimal, can harbour resentment and turn into resentment. What are some examples of things that you felt resentment for? Because remember, acknowledgement is the first step in change.